Cafe. This is the Ottawa launch for the Great Black North. My name is Kevan Anthony Cameron. I'm a co-editor of this new anthology of African-Canadian poetry of the contemporary variety. I love Ottawa. I've had a great time since I've been here, so thank you all for coming out. That snow when I was coming was like blowing right into my face, and like I had that white snow afro, but it all melted in, so it's all good now. Brandon, what's up? What's up? We got Brandon Wint in the house. We got Ikenna Onyegbula in the house. John Andrew Omowole Akpata is in the house. Anthony Bansfield, gentleman who I've had the pleasure of being on 2 radio shows now with, is in the house. So we have some poets from the anthology that will share their work, as well as we have some poets from the community that will also share their work. And after all of that, and everyone's been able to socialize and get down on the book launch tip, we will have a Urban Legends Poetry Slam. So big ups for Urban Legends for being flexible enough to come to this fine venue. In the beginning is the dance. And the dance is with God, and the dance is God. And God glows red as he drops some legs into gold mines, synthesizing lush vegetation on the green planet down below, growing up into the sunshine. And with respect to the goddess Earth, Mother Queen, one black star is placed in between this cosmic color scheme. And God is pleased. So the god of the sky dances with the goddess of the earth. He pours forth his milk and she gives birth. He knows his blood will be spilled for his children to grow into men. So God pours libations and prays to the ancestors to nourish his stellar children. The seed that is planted rises like the sun, a child of flesh and bone. The flesh gains mass and the bone densifies and hardens into stone. The stone is forged into iron through will, resolve, and desire. The iron is smelted by fire. Still God in the sky ascends higher to pour water on the fiery blaze and silence the talking drum beat. So the air clears the smoky haze and dissipates the heat. Once upon a time, under full moon glow, the storytellers perform the dance of the divine. They are drunk with spiritual tradition, rites of passage, and calabashes of palm wine. But man is proud, so God tries to humble him by dulling his 5 senses. But man remains resolute despite losing his quintessential elements. So God sends death to man in his dreams and is certain that man has died. But man is alive and kicking like a baby born again with his pride. So in order to teach man a final lesson, God changes forms to overcome death. And this is why the newborn child cries when it draws its first breath. So if you check the listing or the event details for tonight, we're going to start with some eminent Ottawa poets. And before we do, I'm going to begin with the dedication in this book, because we did make a decision to document or to put into this anthology living Canadian poets. So we big up our ancestors as always. As the living ascendants, we acknowledge the roots of our poetic traditions and dedicate this anthology to the memory and spirit of the people, families, and communities that are no longer with us, except through their defining works that continue to inspire us. So, I don't live in Ottawa, but if I had to, it would be a pleasure. Because I have lots of friends here. And where I'm from, there's not as many beautiful black people in Vancouver as there are here. Black is beautiful. Gotta show some respect. I have a friend who recently moved here from Vancouver, and she is a poet. She is an excellent poet. We had her feature at our Bedrock Poetry Slam this past November. Her name is Nadia Chaney. She is a poet and arts facilitator. She's excited to be here and meet all of you. So please welcome Nadia Chaney.
I got here like 10 days ago. And thank you. I'm nervous and excited to be in a new place. We are what the gods wish to destroy. Rot and rife, ripe and writhing. Worms who wish for wings. The darkness can't get me because I keep it close. I mark these days gently. I'm buried deep inside my clothes of flesh. I let this rest come sweetly on the breeze that dries my tears of passion. I unmask the laughing demons and my feelings steal up, dreaming me into my Isis eyes. My deepest fears now let me rise. I am the prize of all the lies I told myself to just get by, and now I pray like butterflies. Playing in the trees and skies that when I was a little worm seemed to spurn my climbing. Now that I have wings, I see there's no more need for fighting. Alighting on a marigold, I listen for the songs untold. I sold my soul for incarnation and traded love for my own graces. This is the open door in me that leads to where I cannot see. I walk with head held high and arms wide open to accept the scars, the deepest wounds that in the night come dawning on my blackest light. And when I lack this sight, I try to let my love be free to fly, to soar away like doves that search for land and hand me all the earth and sky. This is my endless need, to always let love go to seed in this decaying flesh that pleads for dark relief and light release. All the maggots that will seed and squirm take my life to flesh that earned the nourishment of all I saw. My frozen jaw, my silent limbs are my key as I begin to realize there's no way out. Now I'm free of all the doubt, of all the hope and preciousness. Now my end's my reverence, and I'm proud to sever this, my clinging to the life I live. In the rivers of eternal change and on the shores of astral plains, angelic death means empty hands and lying down to feed the land. We are what the gods wish to destroy. Rot and rife, ripe and writhing. Worms who wish for wings. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. So, since I came to town, I had the pleasure to hang out with Jamaal. And Jamaal, this poet, he has theories that will leave Stephen Hawking speechless. Just Jamaal is the Urban Legends co-slam master and a quarter of Missing Links. I like what Missing Links is doing. If you guys don't know, now you know. Please welcome Just Jamaal.
All right, thank you very much for that wonderfully short introduction. I like short introductions. Yeah, I run Urban Legends with Sensei, and I'll give you some more information about that after. I have 2 poems that I can choose from. One I've never spit before, one I only spit this past Sunday. One's called Inferiority Complex, another one's called No Massa. Who wants to hear No Massa?
New one. Inferiority
Inferiority Complex? I've never. This is like the vault.
Be bold, man.
Okay.
Black people are out here in the cold, man. You gotta do something new, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, let's see if this works out. It could be insulting. I used to write insulting poetry. So I don't remember what it's like, but I think it's important to read. I am so accustomed to thinking and believing that struggling in this world is natural, that my perception of the exceptions between the rich and the poor are like neutral now, so much so that I forlorn the thought of becoming wealthy. I'm actually afraid to be wealthy. I'm afraid of riches. Because you see, subconsciously, I believe that if you are wealthy, your mind is at peace, your difficulties transform to ease, and that money can be the remedy to your sickness, illness, and disease. But in retrospect, I never had respect for those who struggled to be wealthy. And for some strange reason, I came to the conclusion that when you have wealth, you no longer have to struggle. So you see, it turns out I am just a follower, just a part of the pack, division of the herd like all the others, a full-grown man standing somewhat tall with a full-grown beard and my blackness and my Islamic identity, thinking I am so far removed from all the traps and the filthy rats and the grimy centipedes and all the ignorance and all the foul-minded consciousness of unbelievers. Yet every day I drive home, I hear myself whisper, man, I would love to have that vehicle. Or, wow, those homes are so beautiful. How does one attain that? You see, my faith continuously reminds me of the fact that to struggle for the cause of the Almighty, and to struggle for the emancipation of the soul is not just an obligation, but it offers a lofty position if completed with sincere intention. Once you have conditioned yourself for the proximate position to be included with the righteous in God's decisions, we have traditions that state that God's measure of the worth of this world is not even that of a single wing of a mosquito, because He knows what we don't. He knows that many a human being have struggled for what is futile, which led Jesus to proclaim that it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a wealthy man to enter the gates of the promised land, because those who can afford to hoard the world's gold make wealth their means to their end. Wealth is a means, but it is not an end, my friends. Yes, it is a means to counteract poverty. Yes, it is a means to blossom in charity. Yes, it drives away scarcity, but when monetary prosperity becomes an end, you will witness the destruction of the human soul to no end. Its actions will pretend to be charity, but will end in larceny. Its displays of plurality will end in disparsity. Its decisions to use frugality will end with a miserly, greedy veracity, with a tenacity that will shut down our capacity to reason rationally. Yet I, as well as my brethren, are bred to accept suffering as a natural consequence of life. But I've come to realize it isn't right. Somehow we are fed a distorted notion that life cannot have achievement, so when we don't achieve, when we don't succeed, we correlate that with our duty to struggle, and that we exist in this life only to eat, sleep, excrete, and join the deceased. So where do I conceive this notion that those who achieve wealth, fame, and success experience no trials and tribulations? How did I get to this mentality? Why do we defend it so ardently in our everyday life subconsciously? Recent study of my demolished ancestry has led me to believe the answer lies in my abolished history. I have come up with a personal theory that includes how one could get to this perspective, the first of which I think is now engineered in our genetic code. It is taught through institutions, and we are disciplined by it in our private abodes when our parents scold, the result of which is a suppressed faculty of confidence, an inferiority complex. Because as a black man and a Muslim man, I have felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, and if I were to offer up to you my boulders, you would never be able to carry my boulders. And perhaps the excuse is getting older as we continue to falsely be empowered by dubious representations such as the Saudi Empire, the Taliban in Afghanistan, the hire of blacks in positions of power, and the media's portrayal of black entertainers. I know you're saying, oh, here we go with the race card again. And although I use it often, at least I'm not blind to the fact that it is a crutch I often rely on, because there is truth in this overused excuse. I come from a generation of slaves. My ancestors were slaves. If you don't believe me, Malcolm X said use your last name as proof. The only real Mr. Rogers I knew had a children's show on TVO when I was a youth, because the European explorers knew what they were doing when they decided to illegally occupy Africa. It was espionage on the highest degree. It was enslavement of the not just body, but also of the mind and soul. Slavery wasn't meant to traumatize Africans for a momentary time. The real ideal encapsulated the mind. And I carry small tendencies that still make me a slave. One of those is feeling inferior. I know that I will walk upright like every man, but why is it that I, a man of obvious intelligence, don't strive like every other man? I have learned just to get by on minimal provisions, on pitiful sustenance, on scarce divisions of rations, and we who have lived by this poverty line scrap for every crumb. Most of the world's population lives like this. If only I spoke every language in the world, I would be able to prove that many men and women have their capability and intelligence to achieve the prosperity of the hierarchical elites just as much as those hierarchy and elites that draw out of the blueprints for the haves and have-nots, who gets and who doesn't get a drop. A method of mental slavery that has controlled the wealth of my ancestral family for countless generations. So I ask myself, is struggling synonymous with poverty? Well, quite possibly. Because it is said the greatest affliction to the human race is the same poverty. And the biggest deterrent of obedience to God's ordinance is that same poverty. It makes one forget that struggling in the way of your Lord, you shouldn't go out of your way to find struggle. Be patient. And when hardships arise, rise to the occasion, stand tall and face them. And in this way we will get away from these conditions. We will begin to see that every dream is achievable. We must never stop striving for what we desire, unless of course you are killed in doing so. So thank you, Curtis Jackson. For although you are one of those puppet black entertainers, you have definitely taught me one thing. I have now officially revolutionized the term, get rich or die trying.
Last year I went down to Jamaica, I went Bacayad, and I checked out this thing called Calabash Literary Festival. This book, Jubilation, poems celebrating 50 years of Jamaican independence, or as I like to say, Jamaican independence. It was put together by Kwame Dawes. Kwame Dawes is like the author of over 30 books, leading writer, editor, recipient of numerous awards. And so I was able to talk to him down in Jamaica, and I said, yo, we have this anthology coming out with black poets in Canada. It's going to be called The Great Black North. And then he's a tough critic. He's a tough critic. And then, you know, we exchanged a few emails, and then he said, yeah, okay, I'll write the blurb on the back of the book. So this is what Kwame Dawes says about The Great Black North. The Great Black North confirms that some of the most dynamic poetry coming out of Canada today is verse that reflects the complex cultural encounters around the idea of blackness across the nation. The poetry collected here, representing various generations of writers and a wide range of forms and styles, is always urgent, necessary, and engaging. So thank you, Kwame Dawes. And thank you to Jackie Lawrence, because I met her down there and then I see her again up here and I'm just like, man, I got so many friends in Ottawa. This is fantastic. Jackie Lawrence is a diversity strategist and the program director for Three Dreads and a Bald Heads literary series. She has received the National Library of Poetry Editor's Choice Award for her submission to the River of Dreams anthology. She has collaborated on 2 chapbooks, and in 2006, she published her first chapbook, Surrender. Her new collection, Invisible Visibility, on being black, fat, and a woman, is to be published soon. Please give it up for Jackie Lawrence.
And she does Block on Block on CHO every Saturday.
I need promoters like Karen. What can I say? Yes, thank you, Karen. I missed that. How's everybody doing?
Right.
So I can do black, fat, or a woman. Which one do you want tonight?
Fat.
Black History Month. Black woman, black fat woman.
Black right now.
Okay, let's celebrate the brown round, okay?
Oh yeah.
This piece is called Roundness. This roundness, this thickness, caressed by smooth, seductive, melting sweetness, giving notice of secret desires from a distance, to squeeze it, to be lost in all the right places. This roundness waits for you. This roundness, this thickness, enfolded by firm, gentle, loving arms, aching to mold delights and simple pleasures, to hold on, to linger in all the right places. This thickness waits for you. This roundness, this thickness, explored in dreams by pursed lips, gliding fingers, and snake-like dance skin on skin, releasing juicy, plump, sweet plum nectar to douse it, to quench all the right places. This roundness, this thickness, waits for you again and again and again.
I am acclaimed, stretching forth her hands across continental coastlines, like a maverick reporter conducting timely interviews to be printed in provincial freedom papers across chronologies and cultural spectrums. Like a crimson tide, I ride up and over the 49th parallel, shedding flesh like orange peels on the deck of the Commodore. I will not settle for less than these amber valleys and green maple leafs. I ride the rails like George, from the Maritimes of Da Costa to the blues of Terminal City. I smile in the pale face of adversity and sleep with my brothers, dreaming of a land promised to be my own after overseeing fields of indigo, tobacco, cotton. Like the time I took to smell the fleur-de-lis, poppies, roses, tulips, and violets, scents that travel me to childhood, snuggled on mother's continent. I have these hands with brown rivers scripted in identified flesh, where north and south rivers mesh with the great seaway and empty out into the bay. I would not trade them for the skins of other lived things, and I will use them to hold my own on this native land, kept and broken, written and spoken, drummed and danced. I am whirling furor of black cowboys lasso, the stampede after the rush, a fly in a pail of milk, the conductor of symphonies, wearing authentic gold medals and keeping it real like McCoy. I am dropped gloves off high-scoring hands, boxing jabs and feather pens, ceremonial swords of pioneers, loaded African rifles. I am clenched fists of short-lived sprinters, the mad dashes of hyphenated titles, Afri, Afro, Caribbean, and more, a free African on Canadian shores of the great black north. Proud I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you to all three of the eminent poets who were gracing the stage. Thank you, Jackie, Nadia, and Jamaal. That was my poetic contribution to the Great Black North. And I was going to say something else, and it was that these books are actually hot commodities tonight, because unfortunately, due to, weather excuse that the Canpar guy gave me, the shipment that we had, designated for this launch is coming tomorrow. So it's all good, because if you get some info, this book will pretty much be available at every show between tomorrow and Saturday, including the Black Youth Conference this weekend, Friday at St. Paul University from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., as well as Saturday at St. Paul University, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. I believe that is the prerequisite for the International Black Summit, as well as the Cap Slam Indie Qualifier that's going to be Saturday night, as well as a storytelling show that you're going to hear about that's going on tomorrow night. So you'll be able to get this book, because I know you guys are part of the community that support each other. You can go to all the other shows that's going down. So you'll have ample opportunity to get the book. If you really need to get the book tomorrow, just get at me and we'll link up when the books arrive. Otherwise, you can also purchase the book online at adifferentbooklist.com. And as soon as we're kind of past this first launch phase, the book will be available in bookstores and online, and different versions, and in this digital media age that we live in, that doesn't make sense to me, because I still write in my notebook. I don't think I've ever done a poem from like a handheld device. That seems like a prop or something, I don't know. It's all good. But, big ups to everyone who has handheld devices, because you're probably more reachable than I am, because I have this like really bad phone that I don't even like phones. I might as well throw it in the Ottawa River. But so thank you for all of your patience, and the book will be in your hands at the right time. That's how things happen. You're never late for things, you're always there at the right time. We didn't get started late tonight, we got started at the right time. Because that's the time we got started, so it had to be the right time. Alright, so there are a lot of Ottawa poets in this anthology.
Yeah.
O-Town's finest represent in this anthology. Okay, so we have like capital cities coming to the stage now. And I'm looking at the man who's going to start off the show. And I'm telling you, this brother, he's half Nigerian, half Guyanese. He's all royalty, he's all sovereign, he's all black. He's on the all Canadian poetry team. He's in the capital, he chills, he plays saxophone on his balcony. That's what he wants to do.
TMI.
John Andrew Omowole Akpata is a spoken word artist based in Ottawa, Canada. He has won many titles and awards and has toured internationally. A man of Nigerian and Guyanese heritage, John represents a new generation of Canadian griots. Please give it up for John Andrew Omowole!
Yeah.
Gandalf the Black.
Don't be fooled by Kevan. This is not a book launch, and we cannot blame the weather, we cannot blame Kanpar. This is an international Nigeria poetry book scam. You are all being led astray. There is no book. There are no poets. It's all just a big ruse. It's true. No, the book really is real, and I would like to call to everyone's attention that this book is the first ever, the first ever national anthology of Black Canadian poets. So, Kevan and Valerie Mason-John, they actually made history. And for me to be in a book with George Eliot Clark and Lillian Allen and Anthony Bansfield and Wakefield Brewster and all these, you know, the Tanya Evanson, Shantae Grants, that all these people that came before me and opened up the door for me, and then naturally all those people that came after me that kind of make me feel like I'm not a big loser. You know, the elders will always encourage, but the young people will always inspire. So I'm thrilled that I could be in the book. And I'll just read the poem. I wrote it at the Mercury Lounge when Ursula Rucker came up for the Verse Fest workshop. He wails. Again and again and again, day after day after day, the thief on the corner has stolen a lifestyle that was never meant for him. He stands proudly, defiantly, openly, arrogantly on his urban garden balcony, surrounded by high-rise and condo and glass and concrete. This contradiction, this anomaly, he wails. Disrupting the pristine precision and the facade of high-end property. In the midst of diplomats and ambassadors and embassies, with audacity he stands unabashedly. He plays flagrantly and growls dastardly, labeled as disruptive and obscene. That messenger that blasts sound to the sky above, he wails. He ascends and descends that pentatonic scale, and inevitably, the perfect intonation, that meticulous melody of the internal exacting metronome, fails. He rips the steadiness of sound, he blows solar flares into the clouds and shatters the sky, he wails. Like the revelations that John said, he wails. Like bagpipes at the gravesite of the setting of the sun, he wails. Breathing deep and roaring proud, like a giant making his declarations, he wails. Shirtless, like Kuti rallying for revolution, he wails. Like a mother wolf who by the full moon searches for lost cubs, he wails. Like Hendrix riding the feedback from the Marshall Greenback stacks. The delayed distortion of a crybaby phasing in a fuzzbox, he wails. Like Marley crying tribal to the people, he wails. The vibrato can be felt across the street, down the block, across the pedestrian bridge, and echoes into the canal. He bounces sound up and down the bland facings of his towering neighbors. He splatters them with noise graffiti, he wails. His hands curl like claws and clack the keys. With the secrets of circular breathing, he takes no break, he has no pause. The brass bell expands and gets hot, he wails. Louder than the church bells at a wedding, he wails. Louder than the Parliament building's midnight ringing, he wails. More shrill than the police sirens screaming in the evening, he wails. Against the subtle muffled sobbing of lovers lost at night in the streets of Venice. That maze of endless cobblestones and canals, streets unlabeled and shrouded in shadows, the endless labyrinth of streets too narrow to even be alleyways. But there are boats on the Grand Canal that are calling their way from the distance beyond the churches and the museums, that echo that rolls like laughing thunder, he wails. It screams out against the silence of a sleepy city. It is the opposite of a lullaby. It rattles the ears and invades the brain and shakes the heart, a piercing frequency. When you hear it, You can see it. From the blinding bright spot of sparks of brakes dulling the rails of the train, the one that arrives only to take your lover away, he wails and suddenly stops. That moment when all hope is lost, when our loved ones have been put on ships and finally disappear at the vanishing point upon the horizon. The mast, the stem, the sails. He puts her down and speaks her name. He wails. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So, yeah, you know, no need to be concerned. It's not a Nigerian, poetry anthology scam. It's only a half Nigerian poetry anthology scam. All right, so moving right along. So, Ottawa and Van Rock have a connect. There's a little bit of a link there. And really, I think the link is kind of like me and a lot of the poets from O-Town who come to my town and want a place to lay their head down, so they say, oh, Scruff, you got that place by the train John always talks about? And you guys are running through the Matrix? I'm like, yeah, sure, come in. So, this next poet came through my yard a couple years ago and was able to put in some good work at the Canadian Individual Poetry Slam Championship, and he won, and I kind of said, well, you got to give me like a percentage of that check, son, when he won. You see, even when I organize these bios, I still can't find them. Ikenna, open secret, Onyegbula, was born in Nigeria and raised on 3 different continents. He is a member of 2 different Canadian National Poetry Slam Championship teams while representing Ottawa. He is also the 2011 Canadian Individual Slam Champion. Please give it up for Ikenna. Open secret.
Ottawa Metro today.
What up, everybody? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Am I loud enough? All right. John, what the hell, man? What are you talking about, Nigerian? I spent so much time in my life trying to prove to people that Nigerians aren't crooked. And, that image ain't true. And in 1 second, John ruins it. It's all good. It's all good. I'm happy with this book. My first real publication ever, so this is good for me. Speak to me of ancestry. I think this is the poem in the book. I'm not too sure. I don't remember. I sent it some time ago. If it's not, my bad. Speak to me of ancestry. Drum your song of sorrow into my ears and lynch my spirit upon the poetries of your pen, that I may hang upon each breath as I sway to the rhythm of your words. Forget me not your memories as you present me with your history. Strike familiar chords of anger inside my chest, breaking my heart with the strength of the sorrow of your beauty. You who wallows in the heavens, smiling devilish angelic with cannon sewn into the sinews of your feet, treading lightly on your pain for the sake of mankind, for mankind has never known how to love you. There is a gold mine laden with precious jewels rumbling deep in the belly of your laughter, a subwoofer in your larynx, controlling a bass of sound so profound in your vocal tract, so swift it carries with it enough holy strength to decimate the earth. You hold civilizations captive at the tip of your tongue, so speak to me of ancestry, because we have been much maligned, but I refuse to believe that you are nothing less than divinity. You are pitch perfect heartbeat, electric rhythm and blues lungs break dancing to God's infinite human playlist, equal tempo to the pulse of the soul of the world, and classically trained as a practicing alchemist. You must be Negro. Yes, you must be Negro, but you are much more than an Afro-funkadelic remixing of the holy trinity of love. I am from a land as ancient as thick thighs, large hips, prominent breasts, and slim waistlines, mapping out contours of the immaculate conception of human civilization. Long before Joseph Conrad peered into a heart of darkness, ancient Nubian gods have been copulated with Mother Earth, sprouting love children of Ashanti and Kush tribes, meandering across Egyptian state lines, all the while inscribed describing the organic process of black African rule on papyrus leaves poignant as hieroglyphs etched into rock face, so I can never be ashamed of who I be. Describe me as having the statuesque elegance of dignitaries from ancient Alexandria going forward in time and witnessing the carnage of modern-day war-torn Sierra Leone. Describe me as a cross between famine and Somalia and the resilience it takes to bring relief home. Describe me as a revolt in Egypt and Libya, fighting for the right to call my country my own. Describe me as rampant poverty. Do it, only so that you may call me bittersweet. For I am also from a land of rich natural resources where the kente cloth weaves a stunning romance between the forest and the savannah. Mama, look what they're trying to make me believe, that my people are not enough. Didn't you put these stardust in our eyes and these war drums in our lungs? Yet now, even decades after independence, African skies still bleed rainbows of pain as I watch my Nigerian heritage washed away by British colonial reign. Plain sounding Nigerian children are sprouting up like plantations with cotton on their tongues. And if you pick their minds, you find picket fences of English bricks pickpocketing gems from the back pockets of the African weak. All across the globe, English has become a cutthroat language, so no wonder I'm afraid to speak Igbo, my God-given mother tongue. So now name moke, one name moke, ogini kam game me. You see, this Western world broken home housed me for too long, so this is my thank you, but no thank you to ancient British colonial minds. This is my clap back for those who applauded the notion of creating borderlines. Ever since the first Nigerian slave was fucked and life will bred upon our shores, we have only ever multiplied through the mathematics of great division. Raped ever since the British and Portuguese French kissed the devil on our land, and our language is all gaga, cop, and a bad romance. I swear, no matter how you slice us, we are whole. Look through the windows to our soul and you will come to know the true definition of a place that I call home. For Rome's ancient civilization ain't and never will have a claim on our genetic throne, because we now know nobody can pillage the natural resources of our minds. Besides, I find that we are all African anyway, children of ancient Ethiopia. What do you know about Damut and the kingdom of Aksum, residing and thriving in ancient Abyssinia? Imagine the heartbreaking beauty of splitting from an atom, entombed in the womb of mitochondrial Eve. Speak to me of ancestry so that we may entice our minds with higher discourses and bask in the similarities of our souls.
See, that's why you won. And there's no scam going on. That's an honest man right there. You didn't even read from the book or anything. Well done, yes. So, after this session, there's going to be an Urban Legends Poetry Slam. So you're going to get to witness firsthand this thing that we do that's called Slam. And there will be a $10 cover for that for everyone that wants to stay. Would highly encourage it. I think the feature should be pretty good. I don't know. So please stay for that. Okay, Brandon Wint. Okay, so not everyone from Ottawa, links me for places because some people don't need me when they come to Vancouver. Some people are more popular than Scruffmouth when they come to Vancouver. So, Brandon Wint is a Toronto-born, Ottawa-based writer, performer, teacher of Jamaican and Bajan parentage. He's also an enthusiast of the beautiful game. He is a two-time Canadian champion of slam poetry and the co-author of September, his most recent chapbook with Ikenna Onyegbula. Please welcome Brandon. Yeah.
It's okay. Hello, everybody. Hello. You know, I really love celebrations, so I'm glad that people invited me to be at this one. How are you guys feeling about it? Good. This is nice because it makes my mom proud. He's in a book. I swear he has a job. John told me not to make a long introduction. I'm going to do it anyway. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Cool. I find it beautiful, ironic, and fitting. That this book is called The Great Black North, and then we get some of the Great Black North today. And so my poem is kind of about that. Home can be rendered or sensed in many different ways. And for me, the feeling of wind like this, the feeling of snow like this, days like this, skies like this. Canada is not my only home, but the sheer, strength and majestic nature of Canadian nature is one of the ways that I recognize myself to be home. So thank you, Great Black North. This poem is dedicated to you. It's called I May Never. I may never smell fresh cinnamon on an Indian woman's brown finger. I see Guatemalan plums dangle like obsidian earrings on lobes of ruined trees. Nor may I play voyeur to the sun when it hides coyly behind Kenyan mountains. There are places I know where frost coats the inside of lungs, and all of summer's hornets cannot sting so sharply as one invisible winter wind. Where the moon is a dollop of pure honey, floating in black tea, and we watch our white breath rise as the night sleeps. There may have never been hibiscus flowers parting their red lips as I walked to school as a child, or mangoes dripping fragrance into my city streets. But on nights when I lay my body against the calm, snowed earth, the crests of my flapping arms bent aimed to the surface of the land. So there was home for me, between the struggle and the magic of each icy breath. Though I may yearn for new places and new things, though my fingers may grope for new textures, though my feet may call for new concrete, new muddy paths, new tones of brown from the bare flesh of the earth. No matter what freshness my senses crave, there will always be a dignity in the familiarity of cold, naked trees and the yearly martyrdom of fallen make-believe. There is even a place, a certain city, I do not have to use my birth name, because the streets have watched me grow. The lowering sun who so often casts its glances through my bedroom window. The wind that shuttles between the narrow alleys could tell me stories I've forgotten about myself. Could sing me the lullabies my mother used to sing. And I know that anyone who lives here could become the city's eyes. Because we all know the red brick of the building. We've all marveled at summer's tulips and the crackling colors of autumn's dying leaves. But only those who fill a place with their passion can find the city's heart. This is the place where I learned how to breathe. How could it not welcome the echoing of my voice? I have given myself to this place that has raised me and has returned to me the knowledge that all the exotic sands and shapes of the world would be no greater a blessing to behold than the one pristine, unspoiled snowflake balancing on my hot-blooded finger in places unmistakably my home.
So, next up, on the stage we have Prufrock, Shadowrunner. This gentleman is a poet, a rapper, a DJ, actor. He was National Spoken Word Champion 2010 and Toronto International Poetry Slam Champion 2011. Ontario resident of Black Jamaican background, he was born in Canada in the 80s. He released his CD, R.I.P. Charlie, with Missing Links in 2012. Please welcome another quarter of Missing Links, Prufrock, Shadowrunner.
NCHO radio host.
NCHO radio host. So originally,
Yes, Snoop Lion.
Yes.
guys, that's not the only poem I have. You know, I do write other things.
It's good.
I know.
I need to do that one.
I'll do it later. We'll do it in Urban Legends. But yeah, when they asked me to do to be in this book, I was really honored because a lot of the other people who are in this book, a lot of them I looked up to originally when I first started poetry, and now being in a book with them, it's pretty crazy what following your dreams and hard work can give you. So yeah, they asked me to put in Patent Numbers Part 2. I know you got a lot of you guys have heard Patent Numbers Part 1, but they'd asked me to put in Patent Numbers Part 2, so here it is. To those names we forgot, but those whose life work lives on. Swimming is refreshing, and most love the water. But there was a time when many wouldn't bother. Why do you ask? Well, I'm glad you inquired.
because Sam Hines hadn't been inspired by a tire. Saving lives was Sam's intention, so naturally the life preserver was Sam's invention. 1-13-79-71. Let's all pay respects to one of Atlantis' sons, from playing in the H2O to spraying it from plastic. Lonnie G. Johnson patented a classic. 4591071, May 27, 86, water gun. From having fun to pooling blood on battlefields. What Clarence Craig created had military appeal. August 27, 1918, the first chilling sounds of the gun called machine. 1277, 307, not only the patent, but how many the rat-tat-tat sent to heaven. Nathaniel Alexander in 1911 came up with a chair on July 7th, initially intended for churches and schools, to accommodate people when they ran out of stools. 997-108, the folding chair patent by Alexander the Great. Americans are patriots, that's it, there's no debating. In 1932, Francis Crichton found a place for it, high above the head swaying somber in the breeze. 1855-824, the flagpole with ease. Now Bushman them cook pan fire on wood, but Louis Dorcas thought this was no good. Granted, living in the South, this was easier to manage, but Minnesota in October, weather gets savage. So on the 10th, 1907, Louis had it. Said, I need to be inside while boiling my cabbage. Office gave its approval. Iron box, wooden fuel. 86-84-17, the stove, a useful tool. John Lee Love would sit at home alone and write and write and write to get the stresses off his dome. A reoccurring problem is the pencil would dull, and sharpening with a knife would make the knife blade null. 59-91-14, from this clever carpenter, October 1897, the pencil sharpened. Obviously, not only brothers made a contribution, sisters were right there keeping things moving. Like Sarah Boone, for instance, could never be called a pigeon. She patented an assistant that assisted her fellow women. 4736-53 born. Sarah Boone, 1892 ironing board. Lyda Newman had enough of fork and spoon and said no more utensil using while doing the head grooming. November 15, 1898 in a rush. 61-43-35 the hairbrush. April 1st, 87, Joan Clark made a start to fashion an idea that came from the heart that helped doctors and nurses in unprecedented ways. D28-32-49, the medical tray. So from nursing practitioners to folding chair creation, don't get complacent, get an idea and face it. Make your dreams come true, because that's what we do. It's time to salute for Patent Numbers Part 2. Yes, that's how we do indeed. Big ups. So this next gentleman, first time I saw him perform was in Ottawa 2010 as the Poet of Honor at the Canadian Festival of Spoken Word. And since that time, I was like, sugar cane, sugar cane, sweet, sugar cane. Couldn't get it out of my head. I was like, yeah. And if I had it my way, that poem would be in the anthology, but it's all good because we got an excellent poem in there and very appropriate. Since I've been here, I've been able to do John's radio show, Monday Night Scribes, with him, and today we're at the CBC studio. So it's been an honor to kind of hang out with a like-minded individual. Anthony Bansfield is African, Trinidadian, Breton, Taino, mixed down in Perry Sound and Ottawa, Ontario. Heroes Irving and Anne-Marie, mentors Lillian and Callie. Founded festivals and series with friends and colleagues. Legacy like NX Step, North Coast, Word Life, South North Griots. Please give it up for Anthony Bansfield.
Well, this was a livocation to my mom, whose birthday it is today, and she always made me my little cup of cocoa when I come in from the rink. And I look forward to that. And of course, look, her and my dad would be my, take me out to the games and back me in the stands. So I Shadowrunner in this one, and also to Herb Carnegie, who passed away recently. So dedications, Black Hawk, because that's me.
Based on a true story. I am the black hockey player. Brother who stands out on white ice like a fly in a pail of milk. I compose my surface smooth as silk. It's cool like the ice I glide, keeping my feelings on the inside. When the stand spit slurs that echo like gunshots or slap shots off the boards with the force in their words, I'm like, give me the puck. I don't give a... I know off the ice they pull you over for things like driving while black, and they could sit your ass in the penalty box for that. Doing overtime, yelling, don't shoot. When they take aim is to take away your last breath, all tangled up in their net. Easily identified even behind a white wire of the goalie's mask. So I play the game mentally and physically braced for impact. Me, I'm the black hockey player. I am the black hockey player. I played through the stick shots, chip teeth, stick slash, and broke knee. I'm a throwback to guys like Carnegie and Willie O'Ree, Marcin McKegney or Fuhrer with the Fury. And even on blades, I blind you with the speed of an Ikenna, Anson Carter, or Mike Greer with the resilience built over 400 years. They could club me like Brashear, but I still persevere because I am the black hockey player. I am the black hockey player. Please don't play or hate me. I'm a pioneer. I'm like Henson at the pole, out in the rink in the blistering cold, freezing off my ears. Soul brown face in places where they never seen, only heard rumors of my race. I had my afro puffing out the side of my helmet. Yeah, I did. Body check. Hey, why do I get extra attention from the ref? I never pick from the top teams no matter how good I get. And I'm as rare as brothers in the Winter Olympics or a black president. I'm absent from the All-Star game or the Hall of Fame. Even these black history experts don't know my name. All the same, walk tall, carry a strong stick. But I got dreams of drinking baby duck out of the Stanley Cup with an all-black starting lineup. While the PA system plays some funk like Cool in the Gang to celebrate. I'm on a rising star. And all some clowns flipping the channel to NASCAR now that Williams and Hamilton and the Williams and Tiger and all of them, man, they take over their games as champions, and so will I. And do you know why? Because I am the black hockey player. That's right, black hockey player. You know I'm playing in a league where the idea of equality is often bush league, where it's like, sometimes I feel it's like the era of Jackie Robinson for me, the black hockey player, man. Some people saying I don't stand a prayer. Same way they said a Negro can't survive in the cold up there. Only good for serving as porters and they trains up there. Domestics in the big homes up there. Yeah, but now we deep in the city. Like this Capital where the winter hits with no pity. Or Mount Real where I twice saw the whole places mash up in a riot when their team won it all. People all drunk and wild. From when I was a child, I had heroes like Willie Mays, but also Yvonne Cornway. I love my trading card of Dr. J. Yeah, but also my Jean-Claude Tremblay. And I got chills up and down my spine when I heard the call and response to the organ play. Wait a minute, you must not know this game, man. Let me try this again. Yeah, you see, I wanted to hear the people cheer for me too. But instead, all they did was call me nigger and boo and urge their sons to beat me black and blue. And all I wanted to do was wear my team's colors, the bleu, blanc, et rouge. I'm the black hockey player. I'm a black hockey player, but my pops, he loves the game of cricket. You're talking about fast bowler and wicket. He taught me how to play the real football. Brought me back home to Ayere so I could feel at home under palms. All the same, I can thrive under snowstorms and ice squalls. Man, I'm comfortable cradling black rubber as a ball, style like Pele on a breakaway, and amazed at skeptics who said I couldn't make the grade. Bounce from team to team in the minors to try to ply my trade. See, I started out with the Rangers, but they treated me like a stranger. I stagnated and low-rated, my career was in danger. Released on waivers, went from the frying pan to the fire, found myself riding the bench for the Flyers. I was traded and sent to the Canucks when I found out the coach was a closet Ku Klux. Me and him, we got on like Spree and Carlissimo. I was blackballed and blacklisted. My prospects looked abysmal. And looking back, I think it's criminal. That's okay. I've defined myself a new mission to tell the whole world my story, communicate my vision to the next generation, tell them how to keep going like Jesse Owens, scorned but reborn, and 1,000,000 youth marching to carry on, so one day they could say with a little less anger in their eyes than I when I say to you once again that I am the black hockey player. Thank you.
Yes, big ups and much respect to all the poets who got up here to spit their truth. So big up, give them a hand.